Hello there, my name is Mackenzie, welcome back to my channel, and thank you so much for being here. Today we're doing a really fun video. I am spraying my own edges. So, with the fascination of book boxes and special edition books, and honestly, the amount of TikTok videos and Instagram reels that I've seen of people doing their own sprayed edges, I figured that I would just try it out for myself and see if it's something that I actually like doing. So maybe a couple weeks back I got together all of the stuff that I was going to need. I got a cardboard box to use with C-clamps to hold the book together while I spray painted it, and then I got a couple of cans of spray paint. I also got a tarp so that way I didn't spray paint the cement of my porch. And then I decided I was going to practice with some books instead of just going straight for it with books that I really like in my collection. I chose a paperback book and a hardcover book to practice with. I chose Twilight and then also Times Convert. These are books that I, first of all, don't plan on reading anymore. They're tucked away in my closet, and so I thought they were the perfect books to practice on. So we started with the soft cover. I figured it would be easier to figure out how to wrap it up and then clamp it shut together. It took me a little bit to figure out how to get the paper to wrap around. I knew somehow, somewhere in my brain, I had this knowledge of wrapping books like my old textbooks from when I was in high school, but it took me a really long time to figure out the precise way and a good way of having it fold up. After I prepped the paperback book, I decided to see how it turned out before I prepped the hardcover. So I went outside, I prepped the tarp on the ground, and I took away our outdoor chairs so that way I had a lot of open space. I put a piece of cardboard on either side of the book, and I used 2 C-clamps to hold it shut. I was trying different variations of how to keep it closed, because the C-clamps aren't very deep, and so they need to be right where they're clamping, so I couldn't very well have it on the far edge of the spine because it wouldn't hold the open ends shut as tight as they needed to be. We're using a rose gold color here. I'm not sure how much it's going to match, but it seemed like the one I had that was going to be closest. So after I spray painted it, I left it outside for about 20 minutes, maybe even less, unclamped it and see what happened. There was a small amount of bleed on the pages, and I could have been more generous with the amount of paint, so that way there was more of an even coat on the edges, but the cover was completely fine, so I'm very happy with the watercolor paper that I chose to wrap the books in. With the hardcover, I really struggled with trying to figure out how to wrap it. This one had the most issues out of all of the books that I wrapped today. After I got a wrap that I was fairly happy with, we went outside and I spray painted it. So this one I did a little bit different with the C-clamps. So I chose to move the C-clamps as I was spray painting them, and I think the issue here came from how I spray painted as I was moving the C-clamps, because there was a little bit of drippage that changes the color as it dries. So after I finished both a practice of a paperback and also a hardback, I figured I was ready to do a set that I actually wanted to do. I didn't film myself wrapping those ones, so let me just show you on a practice book how I wrapped it and how I figured out a good way to wrap them in case you wanted to know. Good morning! It's the next morning because I had to let the books settle and dry outside and make sure the fumes didn't hurt me or my kitty cats. So I brought the books and we're going to look at them. First, the test runs. Times Convert, this is, you know, this is what it looks like. It really looks like the first one, but it doesn't look bad. The color is nice. I could have been much more generous to get an even coating, but it still looks pretty good. There are a few parts where it has bleed. And then with Twilight, I put the book sleeve back on so we could see it all together. The red is interesting. So with this one, I used the clamps on one side and I let it drip on accident. So it's a little bit darker on these parts. However, the overall red isn't that red either. So I feel like if I wanted the deep red like I was trying to get with the apple, I'd have to do 2 coats, but also be very careful. There are a few parts where it bleeds, and I think that has to do with when I was resetting the clamps. And then the final product. So I did the Mortal Instruments. And, you know, I think they turned out pretty good, you guys. They look really nice to me. So this was the first one that I did. And with this one, I figured out how to get the clamps to reset and how to set the book without getting so much drippage. So we got the even coating that I like. It even goes all the way down to the side. It looks great, you guys. You know, after I get really good at this, I don't know if I'll ever be buying, like, special editions again. Yeah, that looks really good. So, of course, the only thing you have to make sure to do is, like, pull the pages apart after it's dried. Oh, that crackle. So this one still had some instances of, like, bleed, though. Then we did book 2, which was already going to be a little bit of a struggle because it had previous water damage. I seemed to get it pretty well. I could have been a little bit more generous, but it turned out pretty good. Let's see, I don't remember if this one had bleed. This one does have a little bit of bleed in some places, but I think that also has to do with how close the can is to the pages. And then finally, I think this one came out the best. I think it got the most even coat and the least amount of bleed. Yeah. I'm sure there's bleed somewhere because I can't be perfect, but I'm not seeing instances of bleed. So I'm very happy about this new development and this exciting new activity that I get to do with all of my books. So I think that we can claim this a complete success, and I see myself doing this quite more often, so maybe I'll bring you along in our next journey and we can try out some of the blues and greens that I got and find books that would match that. So I hope you enjoyed this video, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!